Am I clear to everyone? Only CSC people are supposed to join the class now. IT students can join at 4 o'clock. Yes, good afternoon, ma. Shall I start the class? Am I clear to everyone? Please let me know in the chat box. Okay. Shall I start? Today we'll see the second unit, ma. Actually, what happened is till now we have conducted combined class for both CSC and IT, right? And from today onwards, IT people are going to have separate class. Why? Because we have completed whatever the common syllabus is there for CSC and IT, right? So when you consider this, if from the first unit is completed, ma. I'm talking about CSC people. For you, first unit is completed, and in the second unit, we have completed only the first part. There are two parts in the second unit, and we have completed the first part, that is micro programmed control. And in the second part, we didn't complete because it is not there for IT. And from third unit, we have completed the second part. that is computer arithmetic, we have completed. Please don't get confused. First unit is completed for you, and in the second unit we have completed the first part. Today I'll finish off the second part of your second unit so that your complete second unit will be completed. The second unit will be completed by tomorrow, and in the next week I'll finish the remaining part in the third unit. With that, your COA will be completed almost all. If any pending, any topics are there, we'll find out and we'll finish off in the next classes, right? So shall I start the class now? Okay. Today we'll see the second part, that is CPU organization. Second part of your second unit, that is general CPU organization. In this case, we'll see general register organization first, and after that we'll discuss different instruction formats, and we'll see the status bit. These are the topics we are going to discuss today. Instruction formats, addressing modes, general register organization, and program control instruction. First, we'll see general register organization. Before we discuss about this register organization, let us see what are the main components present in a processor, that is in CPU. The main components present in CPU are, so you need some storage devices. CPU will have some storage devices. And what are the storage devices? They are registers as well as flip flops. These are the storage devices that present in your processor. And you need some computation capability to do if any instruction is given something like a plus b, to perform that a plus b you require arithmetic logic unit. This ALU is known as a processing component. And the third component of a CPU is, to transfer the data you require a bus. To transfer the data you require a bus. This bus can be either a data bus or an address bus. And the last one is control component. So to control this complete processor you need a control unit. So all these ALU and bus, these are all will work based on the signals given by the control unit. Based on the signals given by the control unit, the remaining components of a CPU will work properly. Right? These are the main components of your processor. Now let us see the register, general register organization. Right? Sorry, I forgot to record. Wait for a while. 1 second, ma. Let me record the session. 1 second. Yes, okay. I forgot to start the record. Okay, so these are the main components of a CPU. You have storage component, we have data transfer components, processing components, and the last and main important one is control component. Right. Next, we'll see the general register organization. Right. So these registers are going to store the data. Right. And here, to perform any data, if you want to perform any instructions or any operation, you require a processing unit called as arithmetic logic unit. Right. Now, this ALU will get the data, will get the operands from the register. As the data is stored in the register, so let us suppose if the instruction like A plus B is to be performed by ALU. User has given an instruction A plus B. and this ALU is responsible to perform the addition of A and B, right? And where the values A and B are present, these values A and B are present in any of these registers, right? So we have to, this ALU has to get the values of A and B from this register. To get the data, you require the multiplexers. So multiplexers are responsible or used to retrieve the data from these registers. Here I have considered only two multiplexers, because when you are considering only two operands, when you are considering only two operands to perform the execution, you need two multiplexer, mux A and mux B. Let us suppose I am performing A plus B, right? Now you know that what is a multiplexer. Multiplexer is something like a data selector. Here these multiplexers are connected with all the registers. The input is all register, all the 7 registers are connected to both of the multiplexers. But from each multiplexer you are getting only one output, right? A bus and B bus. Why I am saying this A bus and B bus? Because one of the main component of the CPU is the bus. What is the need of this bus? This bus is used to transfer the data from the register to the ALU, right? So let us suppose A is present in R5. A is present in R5, right? Based on these selection lines, why we have only 3 selection lines here? Here number of what is this, registers are 7. So based on these number of inputs, number of selection lines will be there in a multiplexer, right? Right. So based on this value of the selection line, one of the input from the multiplexer is selected as a output. So if R1 is selected, if A value is present in R1, then a selection line value should be 001. If it is present in R2, then the selection value should be 010. Like that, based on the selection values, one value is selected from each of the multiplexer and they are provided to the ALU. ALU. What this ALU has to do? If it is A plus B, then addition operation is to be performed. Addition operation has to be performed by this ALU. Right? This OPR means this OPR represents operation code. This can be either an addition operation, multiplication, division, transfer, whatever the operation it is. So you need to provide an operation code. And from where you will get this operation code? At the time of designing the computer, the designers have will generate a specific code for every operation. For addition, they will generate a unique code, and that code cannot be same with any other operation. For addition, we'll have a unique code. For subtraction, you'll have a unique code. For division, we'll have a unique code. Like that, for every individual operation, there is a unique operation code given by the designer of a computer. Right? Now, this ALU will generate an output. Again, where you have to store the output? The output has to be stored again into any one of the register. If I have given a instruction like R1 tends to A plus B, then A plus B is to be performed and the addition, the result of A plus B has to be stored back into R1. Right? To store the output of this ALU into any one of these register, you require a decoder of size 3 by 8. Right? So 3 inputs will be given and it can be stored into any one of these register. Right? This is the general register organization. You will be having a register. You will be having n number of registers in your CPU. To get the data from the registers, 1 second. Hello, am I clear, ma? Hello, am I audible to everyone? Hello. Hello. Okay, I came to know that I am not audible. Is it clear? Venkata Maheshwara KMIT, or any disturbance is there? Yes? Okay, thank you. Is this register organization is clear? Shall I move on to the next topic? Okay, thank you. Right. So this is the general register organization. You'll be having a number of registers where the operands will be stored, and to perform the operations or to do any instruction execution, this ALU is responsible from there, and this ALU will get data from the register using the multiplexers. Right. So this is your register organization. Next to move, let us consider one example here. R1 tends to have an instruction like R1 tends to R2 plus R3, right? Which means that our content of R2 and content of R3 are to be added, and the result has to be stored back into R1, right? Now, for what this multiplexer A will do, what is the instruction? R1 tends to R2 plus R3. This multiplexer A has to select the content from R2. That means this line has to be selected. This second line has to be selected. If you want to select the second line from the multiplexer, the selection line input value should be 0, 1, 0. In the same way, multiplexer mux B has to select the content of present in R3 register. That means third line has to be selected by the multiplexer. So to select the third line, the corresponding selection line values has to be given. Right? So with these multiplexers using mux A and mux B, value present in R2 will be transferred using A bus. Operand present in R3 is transferred using B bus and will be supplied to ALU. Right? Now ALU will generate the output. How this output is generated? By providing OPR code. What is the operation to be performed? When you see this instruction, what operation is to be performed? Plus, that is addition operation. So for every operation you will have a different codes ma. So for addition operation the code is 00010. So that operation code has to be supplied to this ALU, so that this ALU will perform addition of R1 R2 and R3, will generate the output, and that output has to be stored back into R1 by selecting the selection line values of this decoder, right? Next concept is reverse polish notation. First we'll see what is this reverse polish notation, and next I'll tell you where you are going to use this reverse polish notation. Reverse polish notation is, let us suppose if a mathematical instructions are directly given to the computer, something like a plus b into c plus d by p plus q, like that. If any arithmetic expressions were given directly provided to the computer, it is very difficult for the system to evaluate that expression. To make it this evaluation of the mathematical expressions in a easy manner, you are using this reverse polish notation. You know this reverse polish notation, what exactly is this reverse polish notation, but you don't know the term reverse polish notation. Nothing but it is nothing but postfix expression. Reverse polish notation is nothing but postfix expression, right? You know what is infix, postfix and prefix, right? You have learned in C. When a instruction is given like a plus b, it is treated as infix notation, right? What do you mean by prefix notation? So in prefix notation the operator will come front. So corresponding prefix notation for a plus b is plus, followed by the operands a b. This is also known as polish notation, prefix or polish notation. And the next one is postfix. Postfix means what? Post. Operator, post means later or end. So operator will come at the end. or after the operand. So first operands are AB followed by a operator, an operator plus. This is known as postfix expression or also known as reverse Polish notation. When you consider this instruction, the corresponding reverse Polish notation or postfix expression for this mathematical instruction expression is what? A into B. Postfix means what? This operator has to come after the operand, and this multiplication you are performing between which operands? A and B. So AB star. Similarly, to perform this plus operation, first you need to perform C into D. That is the reason C D star you are evaluating first. After that, you are evaluating or you are performing the summation between the two. This is known as reverse Polish notation. And let us say these reverse Polish notations are evaluated using the stacks. Using the stack, we can evaluate these reverse Polish notations in our computers. Right? You know what are the operations performed on a stack? Only two, push and pull. Mainly you can perform push and pop operation. Now, whenever you want to evaluate this expression, what how can we evaluate is, so just take one example, convert it into postfix operation, and what is the result? You have to get 42. Whenever you are evaluating using stack, when you find an operand or data, push the operand into the stack. Push the operand into the stack. Whenever an operator comes, pop the first two elements of the top of the stack. Is it clear, ma? Whenever your operand comes, whenever an operand comes, push it into the stack. If an operator comes, pop the first two elements from the top of the stack. Let us see example. Here, first convert it into postfix or reverse Polish notation. What is the first value? 3, which is an operand. So, push 3 into this position. This arrow mark represents that this 3 has to be pushed here. Next value is what? 4. Again, it is a operand. Now, it has to be pushed into the stack. Whenever you encounter an operand, it has to be pushed. Whenever you encounter an operator, you need to perform pop. Right? As 4 is an operand, push it into the stack. Next value is what? Star. That is multiplication. It is an operator. Whenever you encounter an operator, pop the first two elements of the top of the stack. What are the two elements? 4 and 3. And perform multiplication. Push the result back into the stack. So pop 4, pop 3. 4 into 3 has to be performed. What is the value of 4 into 3? 12. So 12 has to be pushed again into the stack. There is only one element now, that is 12 in the stack. Next, what is the element? Next element is 5, which is operand. So here you have a 12. So 5 has to be pushed here. Next element is 6. Again it is an operand. So push it into the stack. Next element is star, which is an operator. So pop the first two elements from the top of the stack. What are the first two elements? Here you have 6, here you have 5. 5 into 6 has to be performed. And what is the value? 5 into 6 is 30. That should be pushed into the stack. Clear? Next, what is the next element? Plus, which is again an operator. So pop the first two elements from the top of the stack. What are the two elements you have? Here you have 30, here you have 12. So pop these two elements 30 and 12, perform addition operation. What is that? 30 plus 12 will give you 42. Push it again into the stack. In this way, you can evaluate the arithmetic operations using stack just by converting them into reverse Polish notation. Is it clear, ma? Did everyone understand how to evaluate these arithmetic operations using stack? Please let me know so that I can continue to the next topic. Yes, next topic is instruction formats. Instruction format, right? So these one more time. Wait. So using whenever any arithmetic operation is given, it can be evaluated using the stack organization. How? So first the given arithmetic expression has to be converted into reverse Polish notation, or you can say postfix notation. You all know how to convert it into a postfix notation, right? So while evaluating, whenever you encounter an operand, that is the data value, then it should be pushed into the stack. Whenever you encounter an operator, the top of first two elements from the top of the stack has to be popped. Right? So here 3, it is an operand. So push it into the stack. 4, push it into the stack because it is an operand. Here it is star. So pop the first two elements 4 and 3 and perform multiplication. What is the result? 12. Push that result into the stack. 12 has to be pushed into the stack. Next 5, which is an operand, push it into the stack. Next 6, operand, push it into the stack. Next operator, pop the first two elements. What are those two? 6 and 5. 6 into 5 is what? 30. 30. 5, 6 are to be popped out, and the result of 5 into 6, 30, should be pushed into the stack. Next again you encounter an operator. Pop the first two elements. 30 and 12 are to be popped out. Perform addition. 30 plus 12 is 42. Clear? Right. Next, instruction formats. Next concept is instruction format. So whatever the instructions the we have those instructions are divided mainly into 5 categories, and this category is done based on the number of operands you provide to that instruction. Based on the number of operands provided to the instruction, the instructions are categorized into 5 types: 3 address instruction, 2 address instruction, 1 address, 0 address, and the last one is RISC type. 3 address instruction means you will provide 3 operands to the instruction. You will provide 2 operands in case of 2 address instruction. One operand is provided in case of 1 address instruction. No operands are provided. Let us see. We'll see this how the expressions are evaluated when no operands are provided. And the last one is RISC type. So RISC type is also termed as hybrid type. Hybrid type means combination of any of these four can come under RISC type instruction formats. First we'll see 3 address instructions. So 3 address instruction, as I said, 3 address instructions format will have 3 operands in the instruction, and these instruction can be either a these operands can be either a memory operand or it can be a register operand. That means what? Operand means nothing but a data, right? That data may present in register or that data may present in your memory location. That is what the meaning of process. The operands can be either a processor register or memory operand. Let us see one example. So consider one expression a plus b into c plus d. When you try to write the assembly language for this using 3 address instruction, see how you will write. First, what is to be evaluated? A plus b has to be evaluated first. Next, you have to evaluate c plus d. After that, you can perform multiplication of these two. First, try to evaluate a plus b. Means what? Content present at location A and the content present at location B are to be retrieved and they are to be added Similarly, content present in C and the content present at memory location D are to be added. Right? So first A plus B can be evaluated using the instruction add R1 A comma B. When you see this is one instruction. Add R1 comma A comma B is one instruction. I am saying that this instruction is three address instruction. Why? Because here we have provided three operands. One is R1, A and B. These three operands can be either a register operand or a memory operand. Here R is a register operand. A and B are the memory operands, right? Now, so how to evaluate this? Add the contents present at location A and B. So M of A and M of B are to be added. Store the result back into R1. Now your R1 contains the value of A plus B. Next, what is to be evaluated? C plus D. In the same way, add R2 comma C comma D. Here you have provided three operand. So add the content present at memory location C and the data present at memory location D. M of C and M of D are to be added and store the result back into R2. What is the next step we perform? Multiplication of these two. Where the value of A plus B is stored? It is stored in R1. Value of C plus D is stored in R2. Right? So R1 and R2 are to be multiplied. So mul R1 and R2 and the result has to be stored back into the memory location of X. So mul X comma R1 comma R2, which means that R1 and R2 is performed and the result is stored back into M of X. So this is the way to execute a three address instruction. Is it clear? Next, move on to two address instruction. 1 second, ma. One second. So next type of instruction is two address instruction. So in case of two address instruction, you will be providing only two operands in the instruction. Only two operands. So when you see this here, you have provided three operands, 1, 2, 3. But here you provide only two operands in case of two address instruction. Right? So consider the same example and let us see how this is evaluated using two address instruction. So first A plus B has to be performed. So how this is performed is you cannot directly perform A plus B. Why? Because when you perform directly A plus B, it comes under three address instruction. Right? That is the reason. First, what I am doing is first I need to fetch the content present at memory location A. So M of A is fetched and I am moving that data into one register R1. Now R1 contains the value of A. Next, this R1, this A has to be added to B. A should be added to memory location B. The content present at memory location B, right? Now, second instruction I can write it as add R1 comma B, which means that R1 is added to M of B. So R1 plus M of B will give you A plus B because R1 contains what? M of A. So A plus B is added and you are storing the result back into R1. Next, move R2 comma C. You are evaluating C plus D now. So same thing. First fetch the content of C and place it into R2. M of C has to be fetched and it should be placed in R2. Next, what you have to do? This R2 has to be added with D. R2 should be added with D. So R2 tends to R2 plus M of D by using the instruction add R2 comma D, which means that R2 it contains C. So C is to be added with D, C plus D, and the result store it into R2. Store the result back into the register R2. So when you observe this, how many operands you are providing here? One register operand, one memory operand. Total of only two operands you are providing in this instruction. Next, what you have to do? You have to multiply this A plus B and C plus D. Where this A plus B is present? A plus B is present in R1, right? And C plus D is present in R2. So R1 and R2 are to be multiplied. So mul R1 and R2 and store result back in R1. So R1 tends to R1 into R2. Next, this value has to be assigned to X, or it should be placed in memory location X. So move the value of this R1. What this R1 contains now? R1 contains the final result of A plus B into C plus D. Move the result present in R1 to memory location of X1. So R1 should be moved into memory M of X. This is two address instruction. Next, one address instruction. So one address instruction means you will be providing only one operand in the instruction. Say one operand. So you let us consider if you want to perform A plus B or any multiplication, any arithmetic operations like addition, multiplication, so and so, right? In those cases, minimum of how many values you require? Minimum of you require two values, right? A and B. If you want to perform A plus B, minimum. Now to hold those two values, how many registers you require? You require two registers. But here one address means what? You have to specify only one operand. You have to specify only one operand. So how these arithmetic operations can be evaluated when you specify only one operation? Not possible, right? That is the reason using in this one address instruction you are considering an accumulator as a default register for performing all the data manipulations. Is it clear? Using this one address instruction, accumulator is used to perform all the data manipulations. Why? Because with one register you cannot perform any arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and so on, right? So one default register is accumulator, and in the next register you can store whatever the value you can have. If you want to perform 3 plus 4, I can store 3 in accumulator, 4 I store in one register. Let us see the example. So consider the same expression. Then see how this is evaluated using one address instruction. First, what you are doing is, first I have to load the content. I have to retrieve the value of present at memory location A, right? So M of A is to be retrieved, and that should be loaded into the accumulator. You are considering accumulator as a default register, right? So first A is to be retrieved. This A has to be loaded into accumulator. That is the first step. Second one is what? This B, A plus B you have to perform, right? So A is loaded into accumulate. Now your accumulator is having the value of A. Next, B has to be retrieved from the memory location, and that should be added with the accumulator. Why? Because your accumulator contains A. So load A will perform moving the content into the accumulator. Next, add B, which means that the value B should be added to the accumulator. What this accumulator contains? A. So now your accumulator has A plus B. A plus B. Add the content of B, the data present at memory location B, to accumulator and store the result back into accumulator. This is what the second instruction is. Third instruction is, next what you have to perform, actually after this A plus B you are supposed to perform C plus D. How you can perform this C plus D? You can retrieve the value of C from the memory location first and store it into the accumulator. But when you try to do this, what happened? As your accumulator contains the result of A plus B, when you load the content of C into the accumulator, this value will be erased. A plus B is erased. That is the reason before you perform C plus D, A plus B has to be stored into a temporary register. Whatever the data present in accumulator, that is your A plus B, move the content of accumulator into a temporary register T. So store T. So from accumulator, content will be moved into memory location T. Now you can perform C and D. You know how to perform C plus D. First load C to the accumulator. Next add D to the content of the accumulator. So add D means AC plus M of D is performed and the result is stored back into accumulator. Right? Now A plus B is there in T. A plus B is there in a temporary register. C plus D is there in what? Where? It is there in accumulator. Now this T and accumulator are to be multiplied. So mul T. That means accumulator, content present in accumulator and the content present at memory location T are to be multiplied and store the result back into accumulator. Next, what you have to do? The result has to be placed into or assigned to X. So as your final result is present in accumulator, store the accumulator content into X. Is it clear? Right? So this is one address instruction. So using this one address instruction, you are taking the one accumulator, you are using accumulator register as a default one to perform all the arithmetic operations. Clear? And the next one is zero address instruction. So in this zero address instruction, no, you will not provide any addresses. Nothing is provided. No address is provided. Then how arithmetic operation, how the expressions will be evaluated? That is the reason the zero address instruction uses stack organized computer. Zero address instruction always uses a stack organized computer. Just now I explained how stack organized computers will evaluate the arithmetic operation in reverse Polish notation. I explained, right? Whenever an operand, first given expression has to be converted into reverse Polish notation, and now each element is to be retrieved. Whenever you encounter an operand, it should be pushed. Whenever you encounter an operator, top of the elements are to be popped out and the result can be stored back into the stack. Right? So these zero address instructions are performed by using stack organization. You know what is this stack uses? Push and pop operation. Right? Now consider the same expression A plus B into C plus D. Let us try to write the assembly language code for this expression using zero address instruction. First, what you have to do? First, you need to you need to convert this into postfix expression or reverse Polish notation, right? Right. Once AB star, CD star followed by plus. Right. First, what you are doing? First element is A, which is an operand. When you encounter an operand, what you have to do? You need to push it into the stack. So first push the operand A into the stack. Now your top of the stack is having the value present at memory location A. Next element is B. Is it clear, ma? Did everyone understand what I am saying? Next element is B. Now whenever you encounter an operand, again you have to push it into the stack. Right? Now your stack contains the data present at memory location B. Top of the stack is M of B. Now what you have to do? AB plus. AB plus. You encounter a plus, which is an operator. Whenever you find an operator, what you have to do? You need to pop the elements. You need to pop both A and B and perform add operation. Right? Now again store the result back into the stack. Now your top of the stack contains A plus B. Result of A plus D. Next, CD plus is to be performed. C is an operand, push it into the stack. D is an operand, push it into the stack. Next, plus is an operator, so pop C and D and perform addition operation so that your top of the stack contain C plus D, the result of C plus D. Now your stack contains C plus D as a top of the stack. Next, bottom of the stack contains A plus B. Those are the two elements present in your stack, right? Now what you have to do, these two are to be multiplied. So multiply whenever, now after that you have encountered a multiplication operator. Operator has come in, pop of pop the two elements of the stack from the top. C plus D and A plus B are to be popped out and perform multiplication. Again store it into the stack. Now your top of the stack contains the final result. Now you have to assign this final result to X, the memory location X, right? So pop that final value from the top of the stack. So top of the stack has to be popped out and place the top of the stack or move the top of the stack into M of X. Clear? So this is zero address instruction. So using this zero address instruction, you can evaluate the expression using stack organization. And the last type is RISC instruction. So these RISC instructions are hybrid instruction. So hybrid, which means that they may use a combination of any of the instruction formats what we have discussed till now. Right? So first one is, let us take the same expression, try to write the assembly language. Before that, what is to be remembered is in RISC processor, load and one second. So load and store instruction, only the load and store instructions will have memory and register operands. Only load and store instructions can access the memory operand as well as the register operand. Remaining all other instructions can access only the processor registers. They can access only the processor register. So when you see these here, whenever you have a load instruction, there you can find both register operand as well as the memory operand. But other than this load and store, in these three, you don't find any memory operands. Here all these are register operands. Why? Because RISC instructions are having a restriction that only load and store instructions can have register operand as well as access to memory operand. All other can access only this register operand. Right? Now let us see how to write the assembly language code for this expression. First, what you have to do, you need to load A into one register. So M of A is to be loaded into one register, say R1. Similarly, load B into R2, load C into another registers, and load D into another register. So these four registers now have A plus A, B, C, D values. Now what you have to do, first you need to perform A plus B. Where this A is present, A is present in R1, B is present in R2. So R1 plus R2 is to be performed. That is addition of R1 and R2 is to be performed and store the result back in R1. Next, C and D are to be added. C and D are present at R3 and R4. Right? So add R3 and R4, store the result back into R3. Next, what you have to do? A plus B and C plus D are to be multiplied. Your A plus B is present where? In the register R1. C plus D is present in the register R3. Right? Now R1 and R3 are to be multiplied and store the result back into R1. And the last one is assign or place this final result into memory location X. So store the value of R1 into the memory location X. Is it clear, ma? So these are all the different types of instruction formats we have in our computer. Next, move on to the next topic, addressing modes. Addressing modes. So different addressing modes we have in our system. There are 10 addressing modes. So these addressing modes will specify the rule for modifying the address field of an instruction. The addressing modes will specify the rule for modifying the address field of an expression. One second. Yes, right. Now, what are these? All these addressing modes. Let us see one by one. These are all the 10 addressing modes we have. Ma. Let us see one by one. First addressing mode is implied mode. Implied addressing mode. In the name itself, we have this definition implied. That means operands, whatever the operands you are using in this addressing mode, implied addressing mode, are present implicitly in the instruction itself. The operands are specified implicitly in the instruction definition. Let us consider one example instruction. CMA is one type of instruction. What do you mean by CMA? Complement the content of the accumulator, right? Complement the content of the accumulator. Now, so when you see this, I can say that the CMA is an implied mode of addressing mode. Why? Because accumulator content you are complementing. So that operand, what is the operand here? Accumulator. So the content present in accumulator you are modifying, right? So that is present in the instruction itself. CMA in the instruction itself, you are specifying the operand. So you can say that this CMA is one type of implied mode addressing mode. Next category is immediate mode. So in this immediate mode, the operands are specified in the instructions itself. In case of implied mode, in definition of the instruction, the operand is specified. But in case of immediate mode, in the instruction only the operand you are specified. The operand is specified. Let us consider an example instruction. Move move R1, 05X. Here 05H, it is one hexadecimal operand, hexa code. 05H is the operand. So what you have to do is 05H has to be moved directly into the register R1. Right? So what is the definition of immediate mode? Operand is specified in the instruction itself. What is the operand here? 05H. This 05H operand we have specified in the instruction itself. Right? Next one is register mode. In case of register mode, operands are specified in the registers. In the registers, consider one example. Move AX, BX. So move the content present in the register BX to the register AX, where the operand is present. You are moving some content into the register AX, but where that content is present, that content is again present in one more register known as BF. That is the reason we are calling it as register mode. So in register mode, the operands were present in the registers. In the previous immediate mode, what happened? Operand is specified in the instruction itself. In the instruction itself, you have an operand, but in register mode, the operands are placed in a registers. Next one is register indirect mode. In case of register mode, what happened? The operand is present in the register, but in case of register indirect mode, the operands are not present in the register. What the register contains? Register contains one address where the actual operand is present. Register contains an address. Consider one example. Move this square brackets. When you specify anything with square bracket, which means that it is a memory location, memory word, right? R1 comma R2, which means that R2 which means that R2 content should be moved into the location. Into which location? The address is present at register R1. Let us suppose your R1 contains the value as 100, which so that content present in R2 can be moved to the location 100, and from where you'll come to know that 100th location. That location 100 specified in the register R1. You're not moving the data from R2 to R1. You are moving the data from RT to a location where the address of that location is specified in R1. Clear? Next, auto increment or auto decrement mode. So this is just similar to register indirect mode, but only difference is here in case of register indirect mode, you are moving the content from register to a specified location where the address is there in a register. In case of auto increment or auto decrement, you will increment or decrement that memory value when you are accessing a table of data from the memory, right? So from the memory location you are accessing some table of data, 1 2 3 4, like that. 4 entries were there in your table, right? So what happens is when you access the first table data, automatically the address value will be incremented to access the next row of the table, right? Assume that your table is having some 4 rows. 4 rows are there in the table. Using this register indirect mode, what happens? You will come to know the first address of the address of the first row. So when you are accessing that 4, when you want to access the 4 rows, what happens? For using that address, you will access the first row data, and whenever this auto increment or auto decrement mode is used, automatically the address value will be incremented by 1 so that second row data can be accessed. Next, the address value will be again incremented by 1 so that third row data can be accessed. Again the address value is incremented so that fourth row data can be accessed, right? So this is the way to access a table of data from the memory location using auto decrement or auto increment mode. Next one is direct address mode. Using this direct address mode, the address of the operand is specified in the instruction directly. The address of the operand is specified. When you observe the immediate mode, in case of immediate mode, directly operand is specified in the instruction. But in case of direct address mode, address of the operand is specified. Example, add 457 means content of the accumulator are added to the data present at location memory location 457. The operand present at 457th location is to be retrieved, and that should be added to the content of the accumulator. Next, indirect address. In case of indirect address, it is just similar to your direct address mode. In case of direct address mode, what happens? Operand address you are specifying directly in the instruction. But in case of indirect mode, address of address is specified in the instruction. Let us consider the same example, add 457. If it is a direct mode, in 457th location you will have the actual operand. You can retrieve that. But if it is indirect address mode, what happens is this 457th location does not contains the operand. It contains one more address where the actual operand is present. That is the difference between direct and indirect address. Next one is relative address mode. So this relative address mode will use a program counter value to get the effective address. To get the effective address, program counter value is used. Right? So what is the effective address using this relative addressing mode? Address present or given in the instruction plus the content of the PC are to be added so that we can get the actual address where the operand is present. Now when you see this, whatever the address part, whatever the address specified in the instruction, that can be a signed number. Signed number means it can be either positive or negative, right? But content of PC is not a signed number. Why? Because PC contains what? Program counter always contains the address, and address can never be negative. So content of PC is always positive. This is relative addressing mode. So using this relative address mode, the value of the program counter is added to the address specified in the instruction to get the effective address to fetch the required operand. The next one is index addressing mode. So this index addressing mode uses an register known as index register, and the content of the index register is to be added to the address specified in the instruction to get the effective address. In case of relative address mode, content of the program counter is added to the address specified in the instruction to get the instruction effective address. In case of index addressing mode, content of the index register is to be added to the address part of your instruction to get the effective address. And why do we need this index addressing mode is this index addressing mode is mainly used to access array of data from the main memory. So an index will be provided where that address of the array index is provided, and using this index addressing mode you can get the effective address and you can fetch the array of the data from memory. And the last one is base register mode. So here it uses one register known as base register. The content of the base register is to be added to the address specified in the instruction to get the effective address, right? What is there in the base register? Let us see one example. Your memory is having one of the memory component is storing the value a, where the starting address of that memory location is some 100, and the how much size that a value is occupying is some 50, right? That means at 100th location, that memory component, your memory will have n number of blocks. In one block you are storing the value of a. In one block you are storing value of a, right? So the starting address of that block is 100, and it is that block is occupying the memory space till 150th location. That means how much space it is occupying? 100 to 150 means only 50 MB or 50 KB of data it is occupying, right? In those case, that 50 is known as displacement. That 50 is known as the displacement. Generally, using this base register addressing mode, that displacement value will be specified in the instruction itself, and the base value, that 100 base value, will be there in the base register. Clear, right? So when you want to access the operand a, base register will contain the value 100, and the address part of your instruction will contain the value as 50. So 50 plus 100. So starting from 100th location till 150th location, your operand a is present. Clear? Is it clear, ma? This is what your base register addressing mode means. Am I clear to everyone? Actually, CSE class is scheduled till 4 o'clock. So shall I continue or shall I continue it in the next class? That is in the next week. Actually, I thought of completing this unit by today, but I thought it may not be possible. Shall I continue or I'll start the quiz? Shall I start the quiz? Yes. By 4, I cannot finish in 20 minutes, ma. Maybe it will take more 1 hour. If I take till 5:20, 5 o'clock, I may complete. But at 4 o'clock, IT class is scheduled. That is what I am thinking. Shall I start the quiz? Any doubts in today's session? Any doubts in today's session? Most I'll complete this in the next Friday. Next Friday we have 1 hour class, no? In that class I'll finish off this Okay, sorry, actually I have prepared all your quiz in. I have given some 15 questions in the quiz, but in that I have included all these concepts also. I thought I'll complete, but I did not complete. So I need this data transfer and manipulations. I cannot start the quiz. Why? Because it includes some more bits which I haven't covered. Right. So I'll just finish off this data transfer and manipulation instructions in 15 minutes. In the next class, I'll complete program control instruction. At the same time, I'll try to start the third unit, remaining part in the third unit. Right. So let us see. You will not have any quiz today, ma. There is no quiz today. Data transfer and manipulation instructions. Next concept is data transfer and manipulation instructions. Okay. So data transfer instruction and manipulation. First, we'll see what are data transfer instruction. After that, we'll see manipulation. Data transfer instruction means moving these instructions will move the content from one place to another place. When I say place, that place can be either a memory, or it can be a register, or it can be input device or output device or anything. That means using this data transfer instructions, you can move the data from memory to the register, processor registers to the memory, or from input devices to the memory register, or from registers to the output devices, or between any two registers, right? So this transfer can be anything. What are the instructions that comes under these data transfer instructions are these: load, which loads the data into the loads the data from the main memory, which loads the data from the main memory. Second data transfer instruction is store. This instruction will store the data into the memory location. Into the Your instruction will always specify the address. When you, if you remember the instruction format, what the first part 0 to 11 bits of the instruction format will specify the address, right? So load some 100, if I give, if an instruction is given like load 100, then this is a data transfer instruction, which means that whatever the data present at 100th location, that should be loaded into your register. Similarly, load store 200, if I given, if I give store 200, then content from register load R1 comma 200, if I give like this, then content from register R2 should be loaded into the memory location address 200, into the location address 200. Next one is move. This instruction will move the data between the registers from one register to another register. Exchange. Exchange means, move means it is only between the registers. Exchange means the exchange of data can be done either between the register and memory or between any two registers. Next instruction is input instruction. So this instruction will transfer the data from input device to the register, specified register. Output means data from the register is transferred to the output device. Next, push and pop. Push the data into the stack, pop the data from the stack. These are all data transfer instructions. The last one is data manipulation instruction. So, data manipulation instructions will perform the operations on the data, and they will provide some computational capabilities to the computer. So, in case of data transfer instruction, what happens? You are just moving the content from one place to another place, but you are not changing the content. In case of data manipulation instruction, what happens? Content may change. Content may change. Right? So there are three categories comes under data manipulation instruction: arithmetic instruction, logical and bit manipulation instruction, and the last one is shift instructions. First, we will see what are the instructions comes under arithmetic instruction. So these are all the instructions which comes under arithmetic data manipulation instructions. Arithmetic instructions or data manipulation instruction. Okay? So increment the content of the accumulator, decrement, add, subtraction, multiplication, division, add with carry, subtract. All this we have discussed in the first unit. You don't worry about this. If you refer the first unit notes, then you will come to know what is this increment operation, decrement, and so on. So right. So these are all the instructions concerned arithmetic data manipulation instruction. Next one is logical and bit manipulation instruction. So these are all the instructions comes under logical and bit manipulation. Clear the content of the accumulator, complement the content of the accumulator, and the content, or exclusive or clear carry, set carry, so and so, right? Enable interrupt, disable interrupt. This also I have discussed in the first unit. We'll have an interrupt flag. That flag is set and disabled whenever an interrupt is occurred. In the first unit, last topics I have discussed about this interrupt. There I have discussed about this interrupt flag. You please refer the first unit for these interrupt flags. So enable interrupt and disable interrupt. So these are all logical and bit manipulation instruction. In these, and, or, and exclusive are, these three are own exclusively logical instructions. Remaining for bit manipulation instructions. Right? And the last one is shift instructions. You know what is this shift operations are, right? So shift to the right side, logical shift right. You have three categories of shift operations, right? Logical shift, arithmetic shift, and circular shift, right? So all those shift instructions will come under data manipulation instructions, right? Logical shift right is SHR, logical shift left, arithmetic right shift, arithmetic left shift, circular right, circular left. We have discussed only these six in the first unit, right? Next, we along with these, we have two more shift instructions. They are rotate right through carry, rotate left through carry. So in these two, we are including, we are performing the rotation operation either to the left side or to the right side by including, by considering the carry value. Yes, is it clear, ma? Yes. Uh, uh, okay, ma. Next concept is program control. Program control. So, program control instructions. One second, I'll just take confirmation from the IT faculty that I'll take more 10 minutes extra. Is it okay for him or not? I'll just confirm from the sir. Hello. Okay, ma. I'll continue this program control instructions in the next class. Please let me know whether everyone understood this today's class or not. If you have any doubt, please let me know. Still 5 more minutes of time. After that, IT class will start. Is everything clear? Yes? Okay. So in the next class, I'll finish off the second unit and I'll start the third unit. So by mostly by next Saturday, almost all the topics will be covered. Our COA will be finished. After that, we can have revision classes. We still more have February 15th is the last day, I think. So Once our syllabus is complete, we can have vision classes. Clear? Okay. So you CSE people, you can leave the class so that IT people will join the class.